Yeah,
That's
and
it.
I'm
That
sitting next
just
to my
Latoya.
Conrad.
Just Latoya.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
we
I
gotta
can
we
be
gotta get a
Simpson today.
Simpson. There we
Latoya
go.
Simpson.
Simpson.
Latoya.
Okay.
Orenthal James Simpson.
OJ.
Orenthal
OJ
James
all
Simpson.
day.
Oh boy.
All right.
Yep.
Next, not all day.
And next to me
I'm not black.
on
I'm
my right
Moshe.
hand side.
Yeah. Joining you today, I'm Joe Dre.
What's up, Joe? How you feeling?
Yep, feeling great.
Joey, how you
man.
feeling?
Feeling great, feeling good.
Yeah. All
Can't
right.
complain, won't do no good.
Yeah.
No.
What's going on today in the in the world of voting rights and civic engagement?
Well, today, Tamika highlighted it for us yesterday. We got into it a little bit yesterday, but we feel like it's worth a lot more talking about, and that's how a bill becomes a law. So I'm gonna kick it over to my boy Joe,
Sure.
so he can
Yeah.
not boy but grown man Joe,
It's all
so
good.
he can. When I say my boy, I mean friends,
I
my
know what you
guys.
mean.
Yeah.
We're always talking like that in the office. Yeah.
Right.
We're all
Hey,
we're,
B.
Hey B, how you doing?
All right. Right.
Right.
Inside joke.
We call him
Yeah.
Dre in the office. That's Dr. Dre, and that's Big B.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what a great group,
Mhm.
But anyways, we want to talk a little bit about how a bill becomes a law. The first step, it starts with your, I think we're going to focus more on the state
Mhm.
bills, on how those work. But it starts with your local legislator. It starts with your assembly person, with your senator, and any good elected official is going to listen to their constituents and listen to what the needs of their constituents are. So this is why when we talk about reaching out to your local elected officials, this is so important.
So I got a question for you, Joe.
Mhm.
So like when we talking about the presidential race or a
Mhm.
governor's race here, and I'm just gonna go off some issues off the topic of we're not gonna use the candidates in their positions, but some of these issues,
Mhm.
like say if I was interested in having a bill passed in economics or education, climate control, gun
Mhm.
rights, how would you go about that process here?
If you were a regular, like a regular citizen, just a voter out there.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the first thing you want to do is find the candidates that align with the ideals that represent you, that you can identify with,
Okay.
and then maybe reaching out to them and
Okay.
saying, hey, this is something I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about the climate. I'm passionate about the economy. I'm passionate about something like black capitalism, which what we're going to talk about later on.
Mhm.
When you're passionate about that, you can reach out directly via email, through your representative's website, by a phone call, or another way is locally through civic engagement and through civic
Mhm.
organizations like Wisconsin Voices.
Mhm.
You can reach out to folks like us and organizations like us, that have actual lobbyists on the books and can go and fight for you on your behalf.
Right.
So those are just some different ways. If something that you're passionate about and you want to see that bill become a law, or that idea become a law, those are some of the ways that you can go about doing that.
It seems like
Thank
it
you
would
so
be.
much.
And yeah, thank you. I appreciate that and just making that clear. And great question too, Toya. It seems like it'd be a lot of complexity with trying to find a politician to really genuinely go into wanting to invest. Would you, or do you have any tips for people that maybe, because I know you have some work and of course dealing with policy and political steps in the past. You hold an office back in Ohio. What would be a way you think that some people should reach out or find a way to tap into that person that's really for them, or what ways could they look at it before they maybe attack that strategy that they're trying to present to them? What would you think?
One way is to go on. A lot of the candidates, a lot of the representatives have websites that talk about and have their platform right on their websites.
Yeah.
Another great way is candidate forums.
Yeah.
Around election time, you'll hear a lot about the candidate forums. But another way is you can go right on to the Wisconsin legislators website, and you can see what bills are in the works, where they're at. Are they in committee? Are they on first reading? Are
Mhm.
they being reviewed? Is it at the governor's desk ready to be signed or vetoed?
Mhm.
You can keep up with those bills that are really important to you, and then you can go on and look and see how your local representative voted in that matter.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to, like, if I'm really passionate about the environment and there's
Mhm.
an environmental bill out there
Mhm.
and it's going through the process, maybe once a week or 2 times a week, I log on to the website and check that bill out and see where it's at in the process. And I
Mhm.
phone my local representative and say, hey, I saw that this bill is active right now. It's going through the process. I just want to voice my support or opposition for this bill. That's a great way to follow along and keep an eye on those bills. The important ones seem to get picked up. The ones that are newsworthy,
Yeah.
the ones that get the sound bites, those are the ones that
Right.
get picked up and you see on the 6 o'clock news or
Right.
11 o'clock news.
Yeah.
Or the ones that end up getting the motivation.
Right.
So like I can say this for like the fight for 15. When we first started, everybody was against us. Like, are y'all
Mhm.
crazy? These people don't have no education, no anything. And we changed that momentum by constantly getting the word out there to the people, demonstrating, having actions that was visual out in the community, where and start explaining our purpose for fighting for 15, the cost of living.
Mhm.
And once we got the traction, you got a lot of attention to it. So you can make the momentum work in your favor as well. Is you get a lot of people that's interested in your cause, and you all start speaking out and calling those politicians. They actually start paying attention too, because a lot of people don't call and.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and that's why it's so important to reach out to those organizations like Wisconsin Voices
hmm
that can go and advocate on your behalf and help amplify your voice even more, so that things that you're passionate about that mean so much to this community can be pushed to the forefront. And it's not always those talking point issues, but it's
Right.
the issues that really matter to this community.
Right. So now let's get into just general. I wanted to get into like people have Pacific but that's what we just covered.
Mhm.
People having Pacific personal issues that they want to
Mm-hmm.
see go through the legislature. Now let's go just say a general bill. I know she went over it yesterday, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really important for. It was some information yesterday that we really wanted to share today
Mm-hmm.
that me and you talked about, far as Wisconsin legislature.
Right, right. And that's kind of where we started with a good elected official will listen to their constituents. So that's kind of the first step of as to where a bill should start. But then a bill can be introduced in either the assembly or the Senate, which it's read by the chief clerk, and that's kind of considered the first reading.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the introduction of that bill. And that would be that a representative or a senator picked that idea up, formed some legislation, worked with constituents to form that legislation, and introduced it to the full body. Um, and then it goes into something like called committees. Committees are broke down with just small groups of people within the assembly and within the Senate, and they're designed for a specific reason. So there's a committee on education, there's a committee on the environment, there's a committee on budgetary issues. There's dozens of committees, both
Mm-hmm.
in the Senate and within the state assembly. So depending on what that bill entails, that's what committee it's going to go to. Again, another very important step in the process, because this is honestly where a lot of bills go and die,
Right.
because if it doesn't make it out of committee, that's it.
Right.
We're done. The bill's done. It's going to have to be reintroduced. It's going to have to be repicked up. Um, that's
Yep.
a lot of bills end up dying in committees, and that's why it's so important. And the person that kind of sets that agenda will be the chair of that committee. Whoever the
Okay.
chairman or chairwoman of that committee is, they're going to set that agenda. So if you have a chairperson that's up there that doesn't really like that bill, it may get pushed down to the bottom of the list in scheduling and in the agenda, and it can really get shuffled in through the works as to where it gets pushed to the side. So
Right.
there's a lot of ins and outs when it comes to really getting a bill through, and just getting it off the ground sometimes can be the most difficult thing.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. And so if it gets out of the committee, then they have a, a second reading.
Yeah, the committee is going to vote, and they and report the bill out of committee, and the bill is then often referred to the rules committee, and the rules committee can either place the bill on the calendar for a second reading and debate before the entire assembly, or take no action. Again, you can see where there can
It's
be
still, yeah.
inaction, and we always talk about this as how government moves slow. We've always heard the
Hmm.
saying that government moves so slow, and this is a kind of the reason why. A lot of times agendas get in the way of the progress of the people.
Right.
And sometimes it's just the bureaucracy, the red tape, and the weeds of politics. Sometimes it can become hard to navigate.
Okay.
At the second reading of the bill's subject to debate and amendment before being placed on the calendar for a third and final passage. And this is kind of the chance for some commentary, some argumentative back
Okay.
and forth, whether you support or oppose, why that's so. You can hear testimony from assembly members or Senate members. And it's just really a chance to have that open discussion about what's
What's
inside the
in the
bill.
bill?
Yeah.
And so at this stage of the process, so say if they have something that they can everybody agree that we really didn't need in the bill, you can
Mhm.
take it out.
Exactly.
Do they have to do the whole process over
No,
again?
you can simply make a motion for an amendment,
Okay.
and you can amend the current bill as it is. You can have
Okay.
things either removed or added to. You can change language within the bill,
Okay.
and then just like the full bill, each amendment is voted on. So if
Okay.
I say I would like line 2 of this bill taken out, I don't think it really works for the people that I represent. I can propose an amendment to remove that language, and then we're going to vote on it.
Okay.
And if everyone votes in favor, the language is removed. If not, it stays in,
Hmm.
and the process continues.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
So say the bill got passed.
Hmm.
It gets all the way out the gets through the second reading. How does it
So then we're going to get to the third and final reading of that bill, and that's kind of where rubber meets the road. That's going to be the final passage. There's no more amendments. There's no more. There's just kind of the final discussion, and
okay.
try really what they called is trying to really whip the votes.
Okay.
Trying to get those votes, one side to the other. Maybe there's a couple assembly members or a couple senators that are on the fence a little bit. This is that chance to make that final plea to, hey, we really want you to oppose, or we really want you to support this amendment or
Okay.
this bill. But then once it's read for the third reading, and if it's passed, then it has to go to the other house, which is either the assembly or the Senate. So if it was created in the Senate, it needs to go over to the assembly. If it's created in the assembly, it needs to go over to the Senate for
Okay.
them to approve it.
Okay.
And then at that process, they can also add amendments to it and change the law up a bit. So they have an opportunity to go in and make some amendments and changes as well. And then they come together. Both houses will come together to make a joint resolution to agree on the things that both houses can agree on, and finally pass the final passage of the bill.
Okay.
But then it's not done yet. And this is why we talk about changing law and adding law and making law. It can be so difficult. It's such a process, and it takes a long time
Mm-hmm.
sometimes to get these things done, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
years and multiple sessions
You're right.
to get some of this stuff done. But then it goes to the governor if it's passed.
Okay.
And the governor has a few options. He can sign the bill and it becomes law. Very simple. He can veto the bill and it goes back to the House and the Senate, and they can try to override the governor's veto with a 2/3 majority. Or he cannot sign it at all, which I kind of learned this would just recently, that you cannot sign it at all and it still becomes law.
Yeah.
So,
Let's
and
say that again for our callers in
you
our
can,
community.
if the governor does not sign it and does not veto it, it still becomes law.
So your Senate and representatives can write, um, vote on, pass a bill, and don't need the governor's signature for it to become a law.
Right.
So their roles are important in our community, but it's showing you how our local elected officials, your representatives in your community, your senators in your community, are the most important, and your neighboring representatives. So we got to start working with each other as neighbors to because if we all come together and support one another, and have people in office that supporting each other while in office as well, they can start writing some of these bills and getting it through these committees and passing things that are better serve our communities.
Right. Right.
So that is very important to know that a bill can become a law without a governor's signature.
But just going really quickly, back to Brian's point a little bit, talking about what we can do as far as assembly members and state senators, and keeping an eye on what they do. One good way, one indicator is to see how many bills they sponsored or co-sponsored. Were they just a yes or no person, or were they actually out there writing, contributing to some of these bills
Yeah,
and really helping to write some of this language, or was it just I showed up and I voted and that I did my part? So that's another way that you can really keep track of what your representative is doing. Are they just showing up for the party, or are they actually doing the work on the ground?
you're right. You're right. And that's really, really important because a lot of us take those two seats, the governor and the president's seats, as the most important.
They always get
They
the
are
attention.
important, but not as important as your Senate and your representatives
Yep, your local. It starts at the local level.
at
Your
the
local
local
level is
level.
the most important,
Yeah,
then your state, and then your federal.
yeah,
And they're all obviously greatly important. But when
right.
it comes to the issues that matter most to you and affect you the most, it starts at the
At
local
the
level.
local level, with
Yep.
those representatives and those state senators actually representing you.
And it really starts with us being informed
Formed,
and
yeah,
knowing
and
what
knowing
those
what we want
and knowing what we want and knowing what the folks that are out there running stand for.
for. Yep,
Yep.
yep.
Agree.
So I have to say that that was an interesting conversation because to be true, truth be told, I don't think a lot of people really ever knew that they didn't need the governor's signature to have a bill become a law.
Right. And
How about you, Jermaine? Did
I
you
had
was
no,
that
I had no
interesting?
clue. I had no clue, man. So that was information. That was new information to me, man. That wow, that it still happens even if he don't sign it.
Yeah,
yep. If
So
he
that
doesn't act, if he fails to act, it can still become law.
yeah.
wow.
With two thirds majority vote, and really feel that this is a important bill that should be law. You
Yep.
don't need the governor's signature.
So that's
He can veto it, and they can go back and vote on it. 2/3 pass it. They don't need him anymore. It
They-
can become law.
wow.
So that's why it's really important for us to get this information out there,
And
um,
vote.
yeah, and vote. Yes, and that's why we're really bringing out a lot of this information now, because we want people to understand that voting is very important and it matters in our community.
And even more so today, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Today is one of the best days out of the whole election cycle.
Hmm.
It's National Voter Registration Day.
That's right. That's right. So if you're not registered, now is a great
Great
time to get
time.
out and register to vote for the November 5th election.
Yes. And you can pull up to our office at 4201 North 27th Street. You can pull right to the first back parking lot in the back of the building. It's a small parking lot that's not fenced in. You can pull there, and we have our organizers that's waiting in the hallway to come out and register you to vote. You don't even have to get out
Yep.
your car. You can literally just pull up, and we'll have somebody come out and register you to vote. um, Also, we have at the Sherman Phoenix.
Yeah.
We have Sherman Park.
Miss Mabel. Yep.
Miss Mabel Lamb is up at Sherman Phoenix registering people as well. We have some of our canvassers up there as well that you can go up there, and they will definitely come out, or you can come in and register to vote. Later on, they'll be having refreshments there and celebrating the day, because this is really one of is not only National Voters Registration Day. This is the day that our Constitution was made.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Over 200 and some odd years ago. So
Yeah.
this is a very important day for all of us because we are talking about a bill today, but today is when our Constitution was made.
Well, we're trying to understand what it is we're voting for, who we're
Right.
voting for, and what they do once we elect them to get there.
Right.
So yeah, always great information we try to get out to the people so that you understand the process a little bit better, because knowledge is power.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a break, you guys. This is Be a Voice with Wisconsin Voices, WNOV 860 AM, 106.5 FM. Be a voice. We got
All right, y'all. We are back in the mix over here at 860 AM, 106.5 FM, Be a Voice Radio, WNOV. We're just sitting up here, finished up talking about just build how to get a bill in there. And I just want to give a shout out to Joe for just making that clear. And like I said, if you got any questions, please reach out to our team, got extras and areas that that can assist you, whether it's voting, trying to get a bill passed, trying to get something for the community taken care of, just reach out. We gonna switch gears and go into something else that I think is important, not to just the black community, but overall as a economy in this country. We just want to acknowledge or just talk about the circulation of the black dollar. I do want to shout out Season Gives, which is a organization that just had, some tips. There's a lot of information about the circulation of the black dollar, but just kind of hitting on some, just to kind of get it out there to do the shock and all with the statistics about the black dollar in the community. So, spending power for the black consumer as a collective economic power is about 1.7 trillion, which is expected to grow by was expected to go to 1.7 trillion by 2030. Statistics habits: black consumers make up about 87% of retail spending. Online shopping: 48% of black families shop online, while 11% shop offline. Viewing power: black viewing power is $1.6 trillion. So I have to look into that viewing power a little bit more. As far as radio, which we are on right now, 92% of black people in the US, tune into the radio each week. So shout out to all our beautiful black people tuning into the radio station right now on 860 WNOV 106.5 FM, BA Voice Radio, Wisconsin Voices with Latoya White, Latoya Orenthal Simpson, Orenthal James Simpson, and Joe Dre. Uh,
Hater, hater.
Orenthal James Simpson. U.S. TV representation. Black people are represented in 51% of TV programs. Smartphone ownership: 98% of black people own the smartphone. Wealth gap: in 2022, the black households held $15 for every $100 in wealth held by white households. Net worth: in 2022, the median average net worth of black families was considerably lower than that of white families. And one more thing, just before we get into having this conversation about it, because I think we all, can tap into here from some way, where we talking about just overall economics, or just, seeing how the black dollar from your point of view is. But if we look at this, and this is from quote and Season Gives, their initiative is to aim address attention spending and support as the components to shift economic destitution in low income households. But one thing they did say, and I did see this in a few places on the internet, is that comparatively the black dollar circulates much shorter than any other communities, such as 28 days in the Asian community, 19 days in the Jewish community, and 17 days in the white community. Guess how long it stays in our community?
Probably 1 or 2 days.
1 or 2 days. How about 6 hours?
What I tell you?
Yeah, we knew. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what I
Look, she
said.
said, hi. Let me tell you.
It's
Yeah,
not
go ahead.
funny like that.
No. We talking about it.
I'm
We know.
sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's
mean
all
it
good.
like it's.
No, we know.
I meant like
Yeah.
people got this idea in their head, and um they have been quoted this from different parties that they want to have they want to build black capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, do you understand what capitalism is? Do you actually? We live in that system now, right now, today, and there is no way. Look at the longest standing, the Asian community, 28 days,
Mm-hmm.
because they actually have told all their businesses that supports their culture and their family, they own them.
Mm-hmm.
They spend their dollars with their people.
That's right.
So they can have Asian capitalism
Mm-hmm.
to trickle down to each other, to actually where money comes down and support the smaller the not smaller Asians, but smaller, that's still in school or younger and trying to
Mm-hmm.
build up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what capitalism is. Helping the youth generation to build and become business owners, entrepreneurs. So in the black community, and that's amazing. You see, I gave it one. I at least gave it 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, you try to give it a day.
I tried to
24,
give it
24 to 48 hours.
and it's 6 hours because um we do have a few cities down south, especially in Atlanta. I would want to give it to you where we have a lot of businesses are owned by blacks in those few cities,
Mhm.
but it's only few in between
Yeah, you got only
because
like you
all
said,
over the
you
Midwest.
only got few major players when it comes to circulating the dollar. Even down there,
Right.
because they're still, they got the black grocery stores. A lot of them spend a lot of money in the black restaurants, the black boutiques, the
Mm-hmm.
black functions that they have in Atlanta, in
Mm-hmm.
in a Charlotte. Some of the places where they seem are like the new black, the black havens or the new, places where blacks can go and be extremely successful at, and get the support. So like you said, they they circulate them within boutiques, restaurants, shopping little places, lounges, and things like that. But like you was talking about earlier, and I was thinking about it on a lot of levels. We talked about just when it comes to getting a product or service created, made, we do have to usually go out in the black community. We do have to,
You go
for multiple
outside and
reasons.
purchase from
Yeah,
other
yeah,
ethnicities
yeah,
because we don't have a large chain of
yeah,
beauty supply stores. We don't have a large chain of grocery stores. We don't have a large chain of merchandise stores where we can actually go and spend our dollars in our community with our people.
yeah,
The main thing we was thinking about it, like how many in Milwaukee, what is the one of a chain type business that we actually got a couple of black businesses on? And first we started with gas stations. We only have one. God bless our the young lady so on 8th and Atkinson, one gas station that is black owned here, that I know of. If we're wrong, I do apologize. Please call in 414-444-5250 or 444-5253. Please call in, and any of our community have any comments on this, please. Uh we do want to hear from you. There's no opposing or offense. We want to know how people view and what they think their idea of black capitalism is to them. We have a caller just called in. Good afternoon, caller. Good afternoon.
Can you turn your
Turn
radio down a
Turn your
little bit?
radio down a little
please.
bit.
Yeah, let me turn it
Thank
down.
you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Um, so thinking about the topic of your discussion right now related to economics, I think
Okay.
you mentioned the retail establishments that we have, or just businesses in general that can provide goods and services in our community. But I think the foundational question needs to be asked: how many of us have a bank account at Columbia Savings?
Oh, we just didn't get into that part. I thank you for saying that, but that was we just started with the gas station.
Oh
Um,
no, I
but
understand.
you're
I'm just
right.
saying
That was
just the
the first thing we
mentality.
said. We only have one black bank here, and how many of our people actually go have a savings account there? Yep, you are correct.
Right, but I would think that even that thought, it transcends far beyond just our being aware that we need to do it, because we've got our money in all these other banks, and some people will just walk around with all their bank in their pocket instead of just going and putting $50, $100 in Columbia. But then beyond that, take the time to buy something or search out a black business, whether
Yeah.
it be online or in the city, rather than saying, letting my impulses cause me to just go run to the mall to spend my money. Because as you all are saying, not having those businesses that can provide, or at least the numbers that can provide those goods and services, we have to do more diligence in searching for those businesses, and then making it a conscious effort to support them, and
Yep.
Right.
and
Yep.
not just being impulsive and running and saying I got to have this brand name on my butt, on my backside, on my chest, as it relates to the product that I'm looking for, particularly garments. But
Yeah.
recognizing that we have people that produce things of quality as well. And I
Yep.
just want to throw that thought into the mix with your conversation, and I'll be out. Thanks
Thank
for your
Thank
you.
time.
you so
Thank you.
We
much.
appreciate that.
And
Thank
now
you so
we
much.
appreciate that. And that was some excellent points that he have made.
I wanted to
And
bring.
that's
Oh,
true.
go.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
sorry.
Go
I just
ahead.
wanted to bring up one quick point, Brian. You mentioned 1.7 trillion dollars
Yes.
is how much the black community produces
Yeah. And
to
it's
the
going.
to
Yeah. It's
the
looking at
economy.
going into
Uh,
what
just
by
just
2030.
for scale and reference,
Yes,
there's
sir.
only 19 countries on this planet that have an economy bigger than $1 trillion.
Right, GDP, right. So our what we circulate in the community, our GDP of what we do in the black community across this country is higher than
Than a lot of
hundreds,
nations.
yeah, hundreds of nations. I'm sure. I mean, not
Right.
hundreds, probably. I'm sure that most. I mean, it is 1.7 trillion, and some don't even have 100 million GDP.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's just in scale of how much power. And when we talk about economic power and buying power,
Right.
that's a lot of buying power right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And goes to the point of what the gentleman said. It highlights goes to the point that we not only do not invest in our community, we look at our community businesses as they too high, they too expensive. But then you got to realize why.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have to purchase at a higher price.
Right. They're not getting those discounts that
No,
the big chain
chain
stores
stores
are.
get
But that
no.
money goes to the
Right.
corporate organizations. That does not go to
Right.
the guy, your neighbor that's running a
Right.
shop that's trying to put his kids through school and put food on
Right.
the table. And to the caller's point as well, some of those name brand items are in those stores. You can
Mhm.
find those name brand items in those small businesses. You may pay a couple extra dollars,
That's true.
but
Yeah.
you're investing in your community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And Jermaine had a point.
I have a question.
What's up?
Mhm.
Don't it make sense for the companies that's able to pay double that the smaller companies have to pay for the stuff? Don't it make sense for the bigger companies to switch roles and pay it in instead of the smaller companies have to struggle to keep stuff on their shelf? It should be some type of um
Balance.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't understand it because it's almost like it falls under the rich get richer and the poor get poor.
It really is.
It's been
That's
like
what
that for a long.
capitalism is.
It's been like that for a long time.
That's why it's so hard for. They always say when you start a business, it takes 5 years before you make a profit off of it.
Oh, absolutely. And as in my former position when I was an executive director back in Ohio, one of the jobs that we did was we helped small businesses get off the ground and help them write their business plans. And so
Mhm.
when you would look at that and someone would bring a business plan to me and say, I'm going to make $100,000 in my first year, I would kind of be like, well, let's take a different look at this because statistically showing at least your first 3 years, you're going to be lucky to break even.
Right.
So it's very difficult out there for folks, especially that don't have the money in the bank account to go open those businesses or to start that business. So having those dollars available in the community, grant dollars, is so important to help lift these businesses up, but most importantly, the support of people like us, just to be there to help.
We have a caller.
Yep.
That was a good point, Joe. I want to see. Hey, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Toya. Yeah, good morning, Mr. Rideout. Good morning, Mr. Carvey. Good morning, Joel,
Morning.
Brian.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good
Good morning.
morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, Tyrone W. speaking. Couple different. I know Brother Stingley quickly just got off of there, but yeah, just to kind of those are good points. And even Joel, what you're talking about, the banking and all, that Craig spoke about and all. But yeah, we get a leg up when we start producing more. Like we know what we need. Like Afro Sheen, Ultra Sheen. We should be producing that stuff for ourselves. Soul Train. It was pretty much self-producing. Just like American Bandstand was.
Mhm.
Hats off to everybody. Credit where credit's due. They both did good. It doesn't have to be an either or. It can be an and both.
Right.
Yeah, we've got to produce stuff, but we've got to distribute our own. as well as production, and then we've got to be our own marketers as well. Then.
Tyrone, hey, you said it right on point because I
Yes,
think
sir.
about that, like even with the, like you said, distribution.
Yes, sir.
That's where if we can't bring it in
Right, right,
off the boats like they can, you got all
right.
these big
Absolutely. Yes.
organizations, and whether it's
Yes, yes.
a Lowe's, a Home Depot, or
Yep,
a
yep.
Nike or anybody else,
Right,
they
right,
bringing it right
right.
off the boats, and they got businesses set up with the
Mhm.
suppliers overseas. You know,
Yep.
we the ones trickling down. We get it 2-3 times after it has been through, you know,
Yep.
one of the
Mhm.
wholesale folks, and then we still gotta flip that money and give it back to some Indian
Yep,
guy or
yep,
some
yep.
Asian organization
Yeah,
overseas. So
yeah,
we losing our money. It don't circulate, you know.
and
But if we had a black distributor, you know, over
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
that was from the United States that
Yeah,
moved over to China, that
absolutely.
was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and lock it down and create this
Yep.
distribution.
That's right.
One
That's
more
right.
thing
Yep.
too, I just want to
Okay.
say this because I was thinking about, because we talk about distribution, even like in the music industry, and you and Jermaine can back it up. We don't have no true ownership in that,
Right.
because
Right.
they take it, and what they do is that when, especially when it was physical CDs, and that, or even now with the distribution with the streaming, we don't have we can't distribute, and every time we try to have our own distribution,
Somebody
somebody
done stole it.
it's yeah, it's either a guy
Somebody done stole
inside,
some aspects of it. Or
yeah,
Yeah,
something.
it was tied to
Right.
something.
Right.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
it's always
supply
some
and
breakdown,
demand.
yeah.
Through that, supply and demand. If the supply is there, the demand is going to be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got to produce our own, distribute our own, and market ourselves. I'll listen to you before
Word
you run out
said.
of time, though. Thank you.
That's
Thank you
it.
very much.
Thank
Well said.
you. Thank you.
Thank you
Well
so
said.
much.
Good
Shout out
point.
to Tyrone W.
Yeah.
And
Distribute,
that's the
produce our own.
Right.
yeah. That's
Hey.
that's more than important.
And Brian,
And
to
the
produce
banks.
the banks, but to produce, we need investment.
Yeah.
That's why
We
I
need
said the banks.
investment in these communities, not only from banks, investment corporations, but from our
Government needs to come in and right, and not try to control the investment. Come in and
Right.
supply the support the investment, and see what happens when you put the right people who really know how to handle money. We don't need folks coming in, and no people from our community to come in. If somebody come from the government, we don't need you to try to tap in and try to take money and try to make yourself rich. You need to try to make this a balance, so we all going up, a few tens of thousands of dollars, not you coming in and trying to make money off the program or off the contract so you can go sit in River Hills or Brookfield, and then you can distribute your stuff to Gucci and Louis. We don't need you.
Yeah.
We need the ones who really actually want to put this money back into the community. And I'm sorry,
Right.
Jermaine, real quick, I know you was about to say something.
Well, no, I was just gonna say that it's I got a text from this person saying that it's volume as well. Walmart can sell millions
That's
of
right.
T-shirts,
Yep.
Yeah.
and the more men that they buy, the lower
The
The
lower
lower
it
the
costs
price.
for
Yeah,
them.
it's bulk.
It's like
Yep.
It's
I
in
told
bulk.
that
That's
wholesale.
why what
Buying
you were
things in
going to
bulk.
what
Yeah.
you were saying, Jermaine.
yeah,
That is why the more they sell, the cheaper it is for them.
Yeah.
So that little guy, he's coming to get 12 boxes
Right.
of
and
t-shirts,
he's getting
one of
taxed
each
out the
size.
book.
He getting taxed out the book
Yeah,
because Walmart going to get 1.5 million boxes of t-shirts
yeah.
and
Yeah.
distributing it to all of
the
their stores.
yeah.
So they gonna charge them $1 per t-shirt.
So it's
They
like
gonna charge you $3 or $4.
yeah, we already know. So it's like almost as if you're rich and you walk into a store and they give you the expensive stuff. But if you're
Mhm.
not rich,
Right.
then you gotta pay.
Pay extra.
Right.
You just try to
gave
get
us
All
there.
those swag bags and
Ever
celebrities
notice
get.
Oh, the rich people always get
Yeah.
the free stuff. Like
They
when you
get
go
all
to the
the free
casino
good
or
stuff,
something,
too.
they're always
Yeah.
like,
They
"Hey,
just
free
send
room,
them
Right.
Rolexes.
Put a limousine.
have some
I
free
wish you
drinks."
sent me a
suits.
Rolex.
Right.
But if the poor guy goes in there with $4 to stick in the slot machine, nah,
Yeah.
man, you got to pay for your drinks.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
but
For real.
it just don't make
Look,
no sense to me.
yeah.
Okay,
You're right.
caller, you on the air.
Hi, that's me.
Yes.
Hi, thanks. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. The earlier comments, one of the individuals said about the level of Black USA as a nation. That's been spoken of on many different occasions. And Larry Elder, a libertarian guy that ran, black guy that ran for Senate or something like that, governor in California, and he only got 40% of the vote. But the black economists that are on the conservative side have been saying what you guys are saying forever. The difference is you keep coming back to putting faith in government investment. It's precisely government blocking you, because what happens is that the politicians are taking money out of that margin where somebody who has extra money, they're looking for a way to expand. And the only way you expand is by expanding where there is a hole to be filled or a bridge to be built or, the stereotype of those kind of things. You connect dots and you include things, you diversify. You don't grow by sticking it under a pillow or putting it in a vault. You grow by investing it in banks. So by banks and stocks and so forth. So the thing is, it's precisely the taking money out of the community that makes it harder for that person who's already at the margin. So if you guys are at the margins, I'm saying you guys because I'm not a black guy, so I'm trying to be his friend and
Right.
say. So I'm saying, if you're already, like you said, that 9-to-1 disparity, that huge disparity I keep hearing about the private property wealth. Now you got somebody like AOC up there, and she's saying capitalism is irredeemable. That means not redeemable. So the guy interviewing her said, "Well, what about progressive regulations? So would you try to regulate Hitler?" This is the kind of people. Did you hear what I said? Regulate Hitler. This is how absurd she is. And if we don't clean house, and this is not the Republican Party. This isn't the Democrat Party. Luckily in Wisconsin, we don't have required, you don't have to declare your party partisanship. In every black city, every black population, I've looked it up, 40 cities are run by Democrats with white partnerships, Jewish partnerships, Latin partnerships. There's a small 30% minority, just like Milwaukee, that is conservative. So you guys have everything in your hands. You've got this 1.7 trillion, like the guy said. You're in the top 20, at least. You look that up on the Google, you'll get article up there complaining that it's not on par with white people. So then instead of saying, well, somebody's telling us we shouldn't get ahead. Nobody is telling you shouldn't get ahead. No black economist, no black conservative saying you shouldn't get ahead. No conservative saying you shouldn't get ahead, that you should be happy. Nobody is saying that. Dynamics is about you investing in yourself. We have to set a limit to how much government can take from that margin. Because the more they take from that margin, the more they stand up on their Mount Zion or on their Mount Olympus and they look down at all the stupid little people and tell us how to invest. You don't need the government to invest. You need your own investment, and white people will chase that dollar as an investment. The one who you want is going to be the one who wants you. You don't want somebody who hates you. The people, there's plenty of people, just like everything else, just like when you broke into baseball, you broke into running, football, everything, music. As time went on, you kept growing in areas where you're growing. You're growing at such a rapid pace. You were outdoing all
Well,
of
thank
Black
you so
Africa.
much,
All
sir,
of
because
Black
we got to
Africa.
get other callers, sir.
Yeah.
To be fair, we got to
But
get other callers.
Appreciate it.
We
you're bigger
appreciate
than
your
all Black
comment.
Africa.
Hold on, wait. What you say?
All of Black Africa. You guys are bigger than all sub-Saharan Africa put together.
Yeah.
It's huge. The whole sub-Saharan. That means underneath south of the Arab dominated north, all tropical Africa. You guys are bigger than that whole every black country south of the Sahara. You're bigger than all of
Thank
that.
you so much. Thank you for your
Isn't that
comments,
incredible?
and those
ahead,
were
Cliff.
some very good points that you made. Thank you so much. But to be fair, we got to go to break. We will be right back. 8:60 a.m. WNOV. Be a voice with Wisconsin Voices. 106.5 FM. back. We're back. We're back. Hosting
Mhm.
conversation.
Always good
We like to
conversation.
have these conversations where we bring alert to our community. We're having healthy discussions
Mhm.
about things that we see are going on in our community. Joe, you
Ni-
wanted to make some
Yeah, I just
um
wanted to just respond real quick to the last caller. You know, he talked right off the bat about, you know, it was okay until we talked about the government helping out the community. But I just want to point one thing out, and we discussed this even before the show, Latoya,
mhm.
that, you know, if you look at you could look right at Milwaukee and see what's going on. You look downtown, go look at the orange barrels, go look at the curbs being put in, the gutters, the storm systems, the water lines, the sewer lines, the infrastructure that's being
The
spent down
support
there.
downtown
That's
gets.
then you come down here and you don't see the same level
Right.
of support for this community, and you have to ask yourself the question why.
Right, because the level of support that downtown gets from the government is tremendous.
And we want a great downtown, and I
We want one.
understand that, but at the same
But
time,
also support your inner cities and
we
your
need to support the whole city,
whole city.
everybody,
Yep.
and including
Yep.
this area, the areas that
Including
we
the inner
represent.
city areas. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. And that's a good point, Joe. That's why I wanted you to make the point is that everybody is quick to say, oh, you don't need help from the government. It's your government, or it's this specific party or this specific party. Neither party have good intentions in mind for us when it comes to the black community. So we can just face that.
You can look right at the infrastructure projects that are going on throughout the city, and you can
Yeah.
exactly see
Man,
what's
they
going on.
avoid
You
that,
can
man.
look
Still
at it.
avoid it in conversations on a
I'm gonna
nation
say
level.
this. That's a good way
All
to
the
look
time.
at it because you can look at the infrastructure solutions that they did on the south side versus the north side.
Mhm.
And you put all these barriers up on the north side, so when people high flying do something, their cars getting tore up. But on the south side, you put up barriers where you literally switch lanes.
Let me tell you one
Where
thing.
you made the parking lane the
Yep.
middle lane, the bike lane the safest side by the sidewalk, and the speeding lane where people could just keep flowing. But over here, you
Mhm.
put up all these little barriers, so when people fly and hit it, their cars being tore up.
You know, I take Martin Luther King Drive all the way up from downtown every day. And if you want to really see
Oh
it,
my God.
drive down
I
Martin
feel
Luther
bad
King
for you.
because it's not bad when you start out, and there's actually some construction on there
Yeah.
near the downtown. But as you go north, it just progressively gets worse,
Worse and
until you get
worse.
almost all the way up around Capitol, and it's like you're running over speed bumps.
Mhm.
And it's again, it just goes to show you, why is that
Mhm.
investment not being made up here?
Mhm.
Why is that?
'Cause that's how it
Because
is.
if I'm an investor from the outside and I'm looking for a place to open my business, I'm going to make sure that things like water lines and sewer lines and gutters and roads and everything's up to par
Right.
before I go invest in my hard-earned money into
in
that community.
Right.
So if the government's not doing their part, why should I do mine?
Right. Thank you guys for this conversation today. We had a
Absolutely.
great conversation today. We talked about how a bill becomes a law, and that the key to that is you need your Senate and your representatives because they can create laws without having a governor's signature.
And register to
And
vote
register
today.
to vote. This is National Registration, Voter Registration Day. You can come to Sherman Park, at the Phoenix, and where at Phoenix where Sherman Park will be all day today, or you can come to Wisconsin Voices, 4201 North 27th Street. Pull up to the back and someone will come out and register you. This is Be a Voice with Wisconsin Voices, and we touched on black capitalism. So we will talk about that some more, but this is Be a Voice with Wisconsin Voices. We'll see you Friday.
See y'all Friday.
Brian and Joe.
Chill.
WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee.